Okay, well, hello everyone. So today I'm going to be doing a presentation on the movie that we have all recently done research about, Hidden Figures. So first up is how NASA was portrayed in the movie. I feel like NASA was portrayed as strict and formal because, well, there were uniforms and there were multiple times in the movie where they were strict with deadlines. For example, in this scene, and well, he was shouting at him because Russia had already moved way ahead of them at that point. They also had designated offices, basically just everyone's works. They were always at the same place, no one had like randomized seats or anything. Sticking with the deadlines point, I would say they were also hardworking, but they were under a lot of pressure because of the race with Russia, wanting to be the first country to get men in space. And because of that, they had to work long hours, multiple times having to call home just to stay behind and finish it up. I feel like this isn't as common, as a point, but I feel like they were also obedient because, as we've seen in the movie, a lot of times they were prejudiced and obviously favored white people over black people. And even so, when, for example, in this scene, L. Harrison told him to basically set up a seat for Catherine in the office, he still obliged, even though he obviously had his own feelings about it. Next is about some unique things that they had in the film. Obviously, because of the overall subject of the film, we know that it was in the 1960s, but there were a lot of things that helped portray that. For example, the costumes. We had a 1960s styles. The women had bright knee dresses, and they had cardigans and heels. And the men were suit and ties. Now, for the props, they were old-fashioned. We saw typewriters, we saw chalkboards, which really aren't. They are still around, but not just as common as they were back then. And we have old TVs. You can't really see that there, and also the cars. The cars nowadays are more plain, black and white, and bulky. And I feel like the cars back then were more colorful and lean in a way. We can also tell with the police car, we do not see the lights like that anymore. Or, like I said, lean like that. More things about how the uniqueness of the film is they actually used real life videos. They had the John F. Kennedy speech, they had the rocket launch, and they also had the award ceremony, all from that time. None of them were, they had their own actors film that scene. And all of that we've talked about, the props, the clothes, and these real life videos help portray that it was in 1960s, Virgin America, and, well, most of the settings in that area would be like, the area of where they were filmed would be in NASA because they spent the majority of them there. Next is what I've learned about 1960s America. Long story short, we have, of course, racial segregation and equality. Most of them were in southern states like Virginia, but not to say that there weren't in other states. So, like for black people, they faced a lot of discrimination, segregation, and inequality. Some of the examples, they were separated. They had separated schools, bathrooms, buses, workplaces, and cafeterias. They were often underpaid and not promoted, which we could see with Dorothy. They were excluded from meetings or facilities that we could see with Catherine. And they had no opportunities, even if they were highly skilled or educated, just like Mary. They had to work twice as hard to even be taken seriously and just to prove that they had what it takes. Next, life for white people. They had more rights, more privileges, more opportunities to have jobs and higher education. most of the higher ups jobs that we could see were white men. Now let's go more specifics on the main characters. I've mentioned a few of the troubles that they have faced. Like with Catherine, her being excluded from her meetings and facilities with her other co-workers just due to her gender and race. She also had to go and walk long distances just to be able to use a bathroom. Her white male co-workers constantly doubted her, refusing to share her critical information and not even letting her put her name on the papers, the files, even though she deserved the credit. Next, we have Dorothy. She was underpaid and had no promotion, even if she was doing the job of a supervisor. She was constantly getting the lack of recognition and respect from her white supervisors. She even had to teach herself and her team the new computer program skills just so they could keep their jobs and stay relevant when NASA started using electronic computers. Now with Mary. She wanted to be an engineer but had to go to court just to be able to go to school. We don't need to do that anymore, thank God. But that shows a lot. And even after she had to go to court, she was only able to by taking night classes in a still all-white school. And there were also a few times in the movie where she was shown getting just comments by her male supervisors with her being a female. Now, my feelings on the movie and what I think the target audience for it was. So, long story short, I was very inspired and amazed with the movie. The acting was just amazing, and I personally could just feel how raw and emotional it was, and it really opened my eyes, because we don't see it as much nowadays, but it is still a thing, and it was just worse back then, and I'm just in awe of how they persevered through all of it. My favorite scene in the movie is when Catherine was shouting at her boss, Al Harrison. I felt like the scene was very powerful and very emotional, and you could see that she had enough, because she would always listen, she would always do her work, even after having to travel all that way, but she would still do her work, and that was the final straw. She opened Harrison's eyes about the frustrations, how she struggles to just be able to go to a bathroom. And this scene and the whole monologue, I feel like I said, is very emotional and raw, because it also kind of opened Harrison's eyes in a way, to the point where he removed the label from the kettle. There was a scene, as we can see, that there's a colored label there, and with one where everyone uses. He removed that and said, no more. And also with the bathroom scene, the sign, everyone could use the same bathroom. What was wrong with it? He kind of did a small movement. He started it small. And with all of that, I think the target audience is like young people, teens. They're most influential. They're still learning. And I feel like that's when they really grasp, oh, this is actually what's wrong. This is what's right. And all of that. And it also tells them a lot of history. See what some people has to go through. And what, if they aren't of that race, what other people had to go through. So, why the female roles are inspiring, and why they had a lot of positive impacts. I think I've said a lot of these. They show a lot of determination and courage. They show the unfair treatment that they had to go through. They proved that hard work and confidence works. They showed young people to believe in themselves, even when they're going through a very hard time. And it also encouraged us to follow their dreams. I think one of the biggest things that we could see was when Catherine's parents moved out from their comfort space in a way to a city where there are a lot of white people and with all of their prejudiced views. And it also just shows shines light on the forgotten contributes of Mary Jackson, Katherine Johnson, and Dorothy Vaughan. And that is the end. Thank you guys so much.
Questions?
Yes?
Who was your favourite character?
I feel like I actually don't really know if I could put them in a pedestal, but I think Al Harrison would be one of them because he slowly learned. He never realized, but then when he did, he took small actions to it. Small, but still big, especially in that time. Yeah. Yes?
Did the movie change your perspective about life?
Well, I wouldn't say this movie, because growing up I have watched a lot of shows and movies that have had that, but obviously this movie helped me see more of back then, because movies and shows that I've watched are more of like a recent type of thing, and so this is like because obviously because of the movies that I've watched, I was like, okay, so something happened, like all of this had happened, but I just never really saw like to a big amount. Thank you. Anyone? Yeah.
Did you watch the movie again?
Oh, 100%. I love the movie. Any more?
What? I'm just asking this as a media lecturer.
Yeah.
What do you think would need to be done to get younger people to be more interested in films of yesteryear, of back in the day?
I feel like one thing, because a lot of people don't really look up movies, like like old movies and stuff like that. And I feel like as a teen myself, there have been a few times where I just go to the cinema and just okay, I'm gonna watch this movie because I've seen like a little introduction of the movie and I'm like, okay, yeah, so now I want to watch that. I feel like a lot of cinemas should have a few old movies playing back in a way where it's like, oh yeah, so this movie was popular back then. Why was it popular? And then they can watch it in the cinema with their friends. Because like I said, a lot of people don't do research about old movies. Like, they hear about, let's say, the Titanic or the Notebook, but they don't see those. And those were popular because they were romance. Hidden Figures, movies like these aren't popular because they aren't popular genres. But putting them in cinemas, more of them, would probably boost that.
I'll ask a side question to that as well. Then, is it about not seeing the relevance, as in young people use the car for example? We look at a car like that, the old cars, and we'd be like, oh wow, that's an old car.
Yeah.
Right, who wants to drive in that? But there's no relevance to the fact that the Tesla that we're driving today, or the Porsche that we're driving today, is actually related to that, and if that didn't exist, then we wouldn't have had the Tesla and the Porsche. So I'm asking, is it because there is no relevance to today's life, what happened yesterday?
I feel like there is a lot of relevance in a way because, well, one thing I want to say is with today's world and with the past, they have gone more stern focused with technology and just being strict or formal. And so they've lost color in a way, as we can see with the cars. And if we are going to go with more of the movie way, I don't really know how to answer that question. Sorry.
That's all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
You gave a good go.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Any more questions or?
Okay.
Feedback.
Feedback.
Oh, Kwan has.
I thought it was very well presented. I like the slides; they were very clear, and you kept your points apart. Like you knew what you wanted to say before you even stood up today. So,
Thank you.
I like how you get the animation design if you throw your little slides, like some moving objects like the wheels and the sparkles.
The rocket.
Yeah, thank you.
Harry?
Yeah.
I also like the fact that you made it simple but deep. You get what I mean?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I just say, out of everyone, I hope you don't mind, that you actually seemed so passionate about what you were telling us, and that I think the film's really affected you. I think that comes across to us, and I think that was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
So,
Yep, I would echo all that. I think you came very well prepared. You've got a really natural presentation style. I really liked the way you spoke. You addressed all of us. You made us feel very warm and welcome into the presentation. And you took your time as well. I think you were a little bit nervous at the start. I can sense that in your voice. But I think you became more comfortable as it went on. And I like the fact that you were referring to examples and you were pointing to images. They weren't just thrown on there for no reason. Every image and every clip had a purpose in your presentation. And yeah, the animations were good. Maybe some videos next time.
Okay.
Some short video clips. And I liked your analysis of NASA as well. That was quite interesting.
Thank you.
About the behaviours in NASA at the time. I think in future, please, you've definitely got the ability to delve a little bit more into film theory.
Okay, yes.
So looking at character development, looking at symbolism, looking at composition, looking at shots, and how the production comes together, as well as the story.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go on, but I mean, for me, that last slide says it all. Just even the comparisons that you just arranged, your arrangement is quite impressive. And when you were talking about just the props, and you went into some of the details of the props, things that people take for granted. Everybody knows it's there, but not everybody presented it as being there bar the clothes. Yeah. So you spoke about the television. You spoke about where the light was placed in the middle of a police car, which is very different to how it's done nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well done.
Thank you.
Okay.